All right, here I have Zusha Goldin, a photographer creating winning images for celebrities and business executives. He's worked with people such as Ben Stiller, Courteney Cox, Elle Fanning, Selena Gomez, and the list goes on. He's currently launching something called My Nonprofit Artists for Unity, which is focused on empowering the next generation of Jewish creatives. Zusha, let's talk, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's a beautiful day here in Los
Yeah,
Angeles, and I
yeah.
know we're on opposite sides of the coast, but it's amazing today.
I'm glad you can make it. I know we've been speaking together for quite a while, even worked a little bit, but it's good to finally talk to you face to face. So
Likewise, yes, it's been
yeah,
a
yeah.
long time in the making.
First of all, the first thing I want to ask you is what's a winning image? Because I want one of those.
Okay, great question. So, to me, I like to distinguish between like a professional headshot and a quality headshot, right? So, to me, a professional image is something that anyone who does photography professionally considers, that is professional, or someone who has like high quality equipment. But to me, that's not necessarily a winning image. A winning image is something which actually delivers on the results. And so if a client of mine, has a specific outcome in mind, like their vision of how the photos are going to be a success, whether it's going to be an acting headshot, so they want to get cast in a project, or a press release for their entrepreneurial journey in, Forbes or something. The goal is to tell their story and produce them in a light that they actually like, the way they look, but not just the way they look, but also actually captures them. So that's kind of like a winning image, I guess. Yeah.
I completely understand that. So it's kind of like a winning image has the artistic depth and it actually conveys the message. We say that an image can, has a thousand words and it's got to say the right words. So a winning image is the one that says the right words.
Absolutely. Yeah. That,
Yeah,
that's what we're
cool.
talking about.
So yeah, and this kind of is a perfect segue into kind of one of the most important things that I find fascinating about you is how creative you are at using and leveraging photography to tell unique stories. And it's even enter the sphere of anti-Semitism. So my first question to you is, why and how did you get started with all this?
With the anti-Semitism front, like the advocacy.
Yes.
I see. Well, it started when I was in Israel on October 7th, and I photographed two reels which I posted to my social media, where I was approaching Israeli strangers randomly in the market. And when I posted it, within hours I received hundreds of comments saying, "Kill yourself, warm up the ovens, Hitler misses you," all the great stuff. And now, prior to October 7th, I was receiving copious amounts of anti-Semitism online, which I'm sure anyone who presents as Jewish online receives that, but also in person. For some reason, I attract a lot of that. I don't know why. It might be this giant Star of David I wear, but I don't know. Um, but when I got back to the States, after going through that whole experience, being there, and then obviously the egregious amounts of anti-Semitism that has been present all around the world, but especially also in the US, I was like, I can't just sit by idle. I feel like there's two types of people post October 7th, and the ones who kind of take a step back and for lack of better terms, kind of cower, which I'm not judging because I understand how scary it can be, especially because I'm one of the people who actually stepped up. So I know how intimidating and scary and your reputation and career and all that. But there's two types. And so there's one who steps back, and then there's people who know Jewish history and have, I guess, maybe a stronger Jewish identity and understand that when we said never again, we meant it, and we cannot allow, the societal climate
Right.
to shift, and so to stand up. So when I got back, I kind of spent the next half a year creating Artists Against Antisemitism, which was my first exhibit, and now I'm working on my second exhibit, Comments for Peace, and launching a nonprofit to empower the next generation of Jewish creatives and to give
Very
back and
cool.
to really educate and empower.
Yeah, it's great you put your best foot forward because I think even pre-October 7th, you're right to say that there's a dichotomy of either, you're going to cower down or you're going to go on the offense. But there was also a big subsection of people who just were neutral and they kind of stayed on the sidelines.
Right,
And I think post October 7th, I think we're all forced to pick a side.
right.
And I'm glad you picked the right one. So,
Thank
and
you.
I see your photos; they're awesome. They tell a beautiful story,
Thank you so
and
much.
you're working with such incredible people.
I'm very blessed. It's kind of surreal, you know. I'm like, this is very cool. But no, I appreciate that.
Ride that wave as far as you can, man. I love it. So yeah, so what's kind of right upon your immediate horizons? What are you focused on
Okay,
right
so
now?
right now, immediately, I'm very swamped with on November 20th in New York City. I'm launching the second exhibit, Comments for Peace, which is a unity project focused on coexistence and promoting positivity and just having as many people from all backgrounds who we have Christians, Muslims, Jews, all religions, races, everything coming together, holding up real, authentic comments that are promoting positivity. And so we're launching that at my fundraiser event in New York for my nonprofit, which as soon as we do that, about 2 weeks later, I think it is, we're taking it to Miami Art Basel, which I know you're there. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a lot of work. I'm like meetings after meetings and scheduling and production, and I'm still photographing talent in LA
Well,
now, and I'm heading
you
to New York.
definitely have to make time for coffee. So.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. No, for sure. But
yeah.
I'm very blessed. I'm very thankful. You know, I do have people who are helping me with it. But I'd be remiss if I didn't admit it's a lot of work. A lot.
Great. Yeah, the best things usually are. So
Right.
that's awesome.
Thank you.
Now, you guys looking back 2 years ago, you never thought you'd be here, right?
Oh, hell no. I mean, I was always proud to be Jewish. I'm always standing up for Jews. But I mean, I'm a photographer. I'm a creative. I love what I do. I'm so blessed to have the opportunities that I have and to shoot with the people that I work with, to tell the stories that I tell. But I never planned or wanted to be like a Jewish advocate per se. You know, I very much did not plan on going down this route. But, you know, I mean,
And I hope every 2 years, if I ask you that question, you should have the same answer. I
yeah,
think we should always constantly weaponize what makes us unique, and go to places where our dreams today are going to be, nothing special tomorrow, and that should always be the case.
wait, I love that. That was an amazing quote. Did you
Yeah,
coin it just now?
on the spot, just like boom, it just hit
Really?
me. Yeah, I mean, the
Okay,
thought was always there, but
you
it
gotta
came
coin
up.
it. That's an amazing quote. Can you say it again?
I don't even remember what I said. So I said
Well,
the.
you
I'm kidding.
said
I
it,
do. I
so
do.
now you can, you know.
I do.
Wow.
The,
No, it's
the the
amazing.
I mean, the dreams that we have today should be absolutely nothing special tomorrow. And I think that our goal should always be just
Really
out of
powerful.
reach. Yeah, and I think it's true. And we want to look back and be like, sometimes it's even shocking that you don't think that. You look back and you're like, the things that I'm doing today were things that I dreamed of doing 5, 6 years ago, and they're nothing special. And I know that
No,
sounds a
it's
little
absolutely
depressing,
true. Yeah.
but it's not. It's a beautiful thing that we should never stay complacent. And as they say, for another quote, complacency is the death of you. When you get too comfortable with a specific mindset, you kind of remain boxed in. So it's good that you're moving out and you're doing things that really surprise yourself. So I kind of want to have this documented right now, but I have a small question for you. Where do
Yes.
you see yourself in 5 years? It's okay if you're completely wrong, but I want you to
Well,
listen to
okay, are we
this in
talking
five
in life,
years.
career-wise, personally? Like, what are we referring to?
It's an open-ended question, and it's meant to say more about you than it is about my question.
It's very hard because I don't.
Be ambitious.
I am. I just don't know where I'm gonna be in like 6 months, let alone 5 years. I know where I want to be. Okay, I want to have
You should
photographed.
have a 5 year plan. I think it's important
So
because
I have general. Something I've been very blessed with is I have clarity in life. Like I know what I want and then I go after it. And then I'm brave enough to go after it, I should say. And so I don't have like a 5 year plan, but I know like I do have direction. I want to have photographed at least one magazine cover, like Vogue or something. I would love to have already photographed some mega like Hollywood productions, just uniset stills, maybe like a cover or poster of that. I'm really hoping to take this nonprofit and take it global. Like after New York and Miami, I want to bring it back to LA, go on tour around US schools and colleges and, bring amazing speakers out and then be able to give out grants to students who are filmmakers, writers, producers, actors, musicians, photographers and basically give them grants to enable them to pursue their dreams. And then I want to take this to Sydney and London and Paris and Tel Aviv and all over the world and build up the nonprofit and, you know, giving back to Jewish youth, but also having these amazing events on that front. So I really hope and I believe that in the next few years, this is going to really become a really huge phenomenon. And I don't ever put limits on myself. I firmly
Love
believe
it.
that as people, we can do anything we set our mind to. Maybe not from being like in the NBA or not being an astronaut, because like, be for real. But anything within reason that you can accomplish, it's just you just have to go and do it and persevere and all that. Why can't you do anything you set your mind to? I firmly, firmly, firmly believe that. I really do. So I
Yeah. So
have a
here,
lot of aspirations, but yeah, that's what comes to mind, I think.
great answer. Great answer. So I actually hope you listen to this in 5 years and you laugh at your answer because you've accomplished so much more. But
Thank you. Thank you.
here's
I
my
hope so
next
too.
question for, yeah,
Yeah,
and you kind of got me thinking. So you do have big dreams, and I absolutely love it. But I'm curious, do you see photography as a stepping stone, as something for you to leverage for something much greater? Or in 5 years from now, do you still see yourself doing photography? Because now when you start, because I mean, look at right now, and the reason why I'm asking you this question is because you're not actually doing more photography, you're leveraging photography to convey a message, something
right.
beyond that, especially like Jews for anti-Semitism and all that great work you're doing. And I think as you expand on that, you might find yourself as looking back and being like, photography was a very effective way for me to express myself, but not necessarily something I see myself doing in 10 or 5 years. Have you
Right.
thought about that?
Great question. I do, I've always loved photography. I feel like even if I pivot slightly or a lot, I'm still gonna always have a love for it. I'm always gonna do it. Although it's interesting because one of my earlier dreams was actually to be a filmmaker in whatever sense that is, whether it's, behind camera or writing, producing, filming my own things. So I'm not gonna turn that down. That's definitely, a direction. Although I'm leaning more into the production element, I think, like mindset wise. But I think I'm always gonna, maybe unless AI takes over every part of our lives and we just sit back and watch TV and get fat and sassy, I feel like, you know, I'm always gonna do photography in some level, in some.
Got it, got it. So, I mean, how do you stay like confident and have that resilience to keep pushing upwards, and why are you never just happy with where you are?
I think that competence breeds confidence, and I didn't coin that term, but it's something I relate to. And I think that confidence, like a lot of other muscles and skills in life, confidence is but a muscle and a skill. And I think that you're not born with it. If you're lucky and you're blessed, you're going to have parents that give you a lot of validation and emotionally fulfill you in your youth and in your childhood. However, a lot of us don't have that. I'm not coming for anybody's parents. I think parents do the best with the tools they have in the moment. However,
100%.
unfortunately, it could be very hard. So I think the more you challenge yourself and the more you kind of prove to yourself that you can do things and you keep promises to yourself and you advocate for yourself and you don't people please and you essentially take care of your 10-year-old self as if you were taking care of another 10-year-old. Because inside all of us, I'm very into psychology and into inner child work and mental health and all that
Great.
stuff. So I believe like if you advocate for yourself and you force yourself to go out of your comfort zone and you really challenge yourself in every area, and then you see that you're going to succeed because likely you will.
Right.
Your muscle goes stronger for rejection. Your muscle for your confidence muscle grows, and so you just keep on doing that more and more and more until you have a sense of confident self. If that
Right.
makes
It's, and that's the thing, because life is not all about successes. And the most important thing is not necessarily how you handle success. A most important thing is how you leverage failure. And some people can let it push them down. Some people can let it make them develop walls to avoid the
right,
future confrontation. And other people can leverage that pain and apply it
right.
to other aspects of their life and grow even bigger. So yeah, I definitely agree with all that.
Good points.
Yeah, yeah, all good points. So exactly. So now you're in LA, and by the way, where were you born?
So I'm born in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, New York, to the youngest
Oh,
of
Crown
11
Heights.
from a Chabad family.
Nice.
Definitely.
I've
Now
worked
I'm
in Chabad. I've worked in Crown Heights.
really. Tell me
Yes.
about this.
Take a guess. Take one place in Crown Heights where the most quintessential Chabad place in Crown Heights.
770?
You're very close. Top floor of 770. I worked for Chabad.org in my earlier days.
Okay.
Day one.
Wow. Wow, wow.
Yeah.
That was like what, 15, 20 years ago.
No, a little less, but
I mean,
yeah, they get offended.
you're obviously not that old, but I'm saying that they probably their inception was probably
About
for
10 years ago, I worked for them.
15. Wow, nice. How did you land
Yeah.
up there?
I was working for them remotely for a while. And then, yeah, I got an internship with them. It was my first and only employer. They got offended when I didn't drink on the job. It was a very puzzling experience.
I believe it, by the way. Chabad, they're we're all a whole bunch of alcoholics in a good way,
Right, right.
if
Yeah,
that
it's just when,
sentence makes sense.
and I lived in Crown Heights. It was a good time in my life. It
Where in
was
Crown
an
Heights did you
absolutely
live?
magical time. I lived on Crown Street.
Crown and what?
I don't know, it was such a long time ago.
Crown Street. Oh my God. I just saw my friend Danny Finkelman. He's a producer and whatnot. He's actually right now with Lev Schreiber and Austin Butler filming on Crown Street in Crown Heights. They're filming Darren.
Nice.
I forget his new movie, and I just saw a video of like all like the young like they're base Rivka girls, but like all the young girls in like the from Orthodox school there.
That's sweet.
They're all
My
like running with like
sister's in seminary there right now, but yeah, we're probably just a few years apart, and that's probably why it's a slightly different time frame. But yeah, I was there for quite a few years, and it was a really good time. And then I went up to
wow.
YU. Yeah, so I didn't know you were from Crown
Unreal.
Heights. That's really cool. And I lived in LA too. So where in LA are you?
I'm in like West Hollywood, La Brea area.
Cool, cool. Pico Robinson. I miss BB's Bakery. It was really good.
I've never. Oh, I know what that is, but I've never been there.
It's good. It's
Wow,
good.
you've lived like several lives.
I have. I traveled for like six and a half years. So yeah,
Wow.
it's been a while.
How did you land up
But
in my?
good question. I mean, at some point, I got to close the travel chapter of my life as much as I truly enjoy it. And I had three options. I either go back to LA, I go to New York, back to New York,
Right.
or I come to Miami. And I
So
made
it's
the
just
decision to come.
the great triangle. It's the great.
Yeah, exactly.
That's real. You're not moving like you're not moving to Austin. You're not moving to
I
Chicago. You're
was
not
in Austin. I
moving
lived in North Austin for months.
okay, fine. I concede. I
I
give
lived
up.
everywhere on the West Coast. I lived everywhere. I can go all
Really.
the way down. I lived in Washington, Seattle, which is where I last came from. I lived in Portland, Oregon. I lived in San Francisco
Why?
in the
What was it?
financial.
What brought you to all these places?
I
What
was I was but I was working all the time. So I was remotely
remotely
working.
or for like?
Yeah, but I was just picking random flights and going to random places, and then I wasn't just like touring. I was trying to stay there for between 2 weeks and 2 months.
Good for
And
you.
then
That sounds
yeah,
amazing.
whenever my mind got a little bored of my environment, I constantly kept myself excited by just moving to another spot. It's honestly
I
part of me
love
I
that.
slightly miss.
No, that's
But
incredible. I want to do that. That's amazing.
yeah,
Good for
I
you.
mean, yeah, I mean, I was working remotely, I guess, before it was cool. But
Right.
it's before
I
COVID
can't
hit.
believe COVID was 4 years ago, and now it's
It was it?
wild. The
Yeah, it
world changed.
does change.
Insanity.
Yeah. So yeah, so okay, cool. So right now you're doing stuff with anti-Semitism. Your 5-year plan is to kind of get some high-profile magazines and kind of rock it that way. And I guess a lot of people are in your footsteps. A lot of people are pursuing photography. And what advice would you give to those who are starting their own journey?
I think it just depends on what part of the industry they're in, as well as if they want to do it full time or as a hobby, right? In the beginning, you have to do a lot of free work just to build up a portfolio and get your name out there. But I think at a certain point, you have to be very intentional about the type of clients you take on and pursue your ideal client avatar and go after and market and brand yourself as a certain type of photographer. But also be willing to walk away from clients if they're going to disrespect you and or you know lowball you. It's very easy as a creative to be taken advantage
Desperate.
of,
Right.
but and desperate, right? Especially
You're
if
desperate to set your footing. So sometimes you'll take
right,
whatever you get. Right.
right. No, and of course, there's a time and place for that as well, I think.
Right.
But overall, I mean, like at some point, you have to kind of be like, you know what? No, this is what I'm doing full time, and my ideal client, who I just need to effectively communicate with, is going to meet me where I'm at, and they do,
Right.
and they will. So
Beautiful.
so like find a mentor, I would say. Watch a lot of YouTube videos. Reach out to photographers who you want to emulate, and just ask them. I guess things like that.
Yeah, and it's quality, not quantity. You're right, and your time is precious, and it's hard to feel when you're looking up to so many people as you're starting your journey. It's easy to listen to those above you, but yeah, I guess what you're saying is to have that confidence to stand your ground early on, kind of hone in on specifically your type of demographic, and the world of knowledge is at your fingertips. So you don't need to go to like school or anything. You have YouTube in front of you, and take advantage of that.
I think there is a lot to be said for going to school. In
Of course,
hindsight, maybe I would go just for like that like formal basis
you
education
have the
and
Crown
just get
Heights Chabad
smacked.
mentality. It's a very hustle vibe.
You know how it
Yeah,
is. I didn't go to, I'm
yeah.
self-taught, but and
They throw you in the streets and they tell you to figure it out, and you guys
they'll,
always
they'll,
do.
first, they'll first ask you to rap tefillin and then they'll tell you to figure it
Right,
out.
right. My neighbor found out. My Chabad neighbor. I found out I had a Chabad neighbor, and he knocks on my door. It's pretty
It's
funny.
amazing.
All right, Zusha. It was an honest pleasure talking to you. You're full of wisdom. I admire your creativity,
I wouldn't go
and I
that far.
really, I really want you to listen to this podcast in 5 years from now and laugh because you've gone so much further.
I appreciate that, Mikey. Thank you so much.
Amen, brother.
Thank you.